So my recent video cut off at the last moment. It cut off, and the last part of the recent video was explaining how, you know, the second chapter out of the 7th chapter of the new moon, the full moon could be actually like the final scene. And then when the moon is waning after it's waxing, you know, the down dropping of the moon, that's the credits. And that's like the, you know, the shadow editors and the shadow producers is, you know, there's a different type of like ghost opposition when the moon is, you know, declining out of when it's waxing. And I believe it's called waxing when it's, you know, rising up from its, you know, collective repouring or recollecting of energies, and how the sun is, you know, downpouring into something of a moon technology for us to even like, you know, have a certain type of response. Because what I believe the moon is, I believe the moon is, its theme is like how we respond to comfort within a certain, you know, higher logic theme within the season's temperament. So the second chapter, it's like how we could like build upon our expansion after that which has like kind of like shocked us in a certain way. You know, death could shock us, rebirth could shock us. So within all of that being said, you know, for whatever reason, we might have some type of, you know, just as we grow through life, not good, not bad, but there could be just like an unknowing or something of a cognitive dissonance that has accumulated within us. And as it's doing that, you know, Mercury being like the collective throat chakra pretty much. So like the collective body itself is receiving the messages as it's in how we could actually like be like in tune with how we could higher octavely respond to how we go about getting comfort when, like, you know, the moon technology is collecting its, you know, its quote unquote loose energy end quote within that constellation. And, you know, the second chapter of the new moon, you know, the Sag constellation, that's like low key, that's like the diplomacy of the gods, you know, in like a more raw form, you know. So it's like that we're expanding our we're expanding like our maturity within, you know, a different type of reality, but building upon like ooh, look at that, 2 for $4.50. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. These are good. I'm gonna get one of these. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of close it up, the last video. And the Mercury, like, it is there, like, you know, getting the message, you know, it's letting the collective understand. So we're in a really like somewhatly like harmonic time, like, you know, against all odds, because for like, you know, the collective throat chakra emitter, Mercury conjuncting the moon in Sag, that's helping us receive the messages of how to respond to where we're at right now, and how we could be in alignment to like some type of higher octave, you know, kind of diplomacy and philosophy within, you know, whatever these higher powers are. And like, if we're on the undercurrent of that, that just goes to show like that challenge is like, you know, building our character and our strength. And, you know, it's like kind of like to see like how we kind of like, how we like kind of grow out of that, you know? So I just wanted to like kind of tidy up the last video. And yeah, it's just a tidy up of the last video. So let's see. So yeah, so the final scene of like Taurus, you know, full moon in Taurus in about like what, 9 days, something like that. That's like, you know, when the movie comes to you know, where the earth was in Taurus at the start. We're ultimately learning how we're being practical and grounding with the revolutionary changes that are just generally happening on the earth. And the start of the new moon, the start of the new movie within Scorpio new moon and full moon Taurus, that's pretty much saying we could be like receiving the fertilizer from our deathbed, you know, because the deathbed is Scorpio new moon. So it's like there, and then the fertilizer essence, that's something like a Taurus quality, you know, giving some sort of like, you know, you're tilling your crops, and once you till your crops, you're getting certain, you know, once you plant the crops and the crops are ready to grow and the crops are ready to, like, you know, be pulled, like the radishes are being ready to be pulled, you know, that, you know, that could be like some sort of sustenance, you know. So it's kind of like, you know, the Taurus full moon is like kind of like seeing like, how did we come out of our, like, you know, our metaphorical esoteric deathbed, or what, like, you know, you made your bed, now lay in it kind of thing, you know. That's what I'm getting for the upcoming full moon in Taurus. Like, but it doesn't have to be like doom and gloom, but like it's also subjective, and it's all quote unquote tricky end quote for everybody else, because we're all like following up on these energies so differently, you know. We're all like, you know, we're not necessarily investing to like how an independent celestial body energy is moving in its own direction, and as it's moving in its own direction, it's casting some sort of theme energy agenda. And if we're unaware to that energy agenda, then we're gonna have like, our spaceship could be kind of like not necessarily in tune, in accordance to somehow this is like already it's already somehow prearranged, it's already somehow preset in one sense, because it's like, why is it that, like, you know, the planets have like a fixed route within how there's a fixed combination, as if like this timeline already happened in a deeper mystical way, you know? So I just kind of want to touch that up real quick. Obviously, I'll come back on another one. So and then, you know, when the moon is waning, that's like the credits, you know. It's like, okay, there's the behind the scenes, like, oh, these energies were contributing, you know, in a low-key way where we weren't necessarily responding to those energies with the moon energy, but still within different, you know, types of synaptical synastries, same thing. There's subtle contributions from how the individual is responding to the collective, but how the collective is responding to the individual. Those themes are somewhatly like fixed within how the aspects have a certain combination. We're being affected, like, you know, when like light goes through a certain filter, and that filter is a certain color, you're going to get that beam of a projection, and you're going to get a specific effect. Same the way the planets are beaming the earth, and we are like some like micro conglomerate of that, but we're still being prominently affected by how the certain planets are in certain positions, and how those planets are in certain positions, they're giving us certain energies, prominent energies that we're not necessarily privy to, on how we could course correct ourselves by seeing what the celestial bodies are doing elsewhere. So this is just a tidy up. So this is just a tidy up of the last video, and thank you guys. You have an awesome life. Thank you guys. So so this is just casually part 2, you know, and I'm just like, you know, I'm just like, I'm just seeing, like, you know, there is like help here. Like, are we just daring enough to, like, you know, follow up on that help? And if we're not, you know, then who knows what cause and effect will happen if we kind of ignore what could help us. But like, that's all like case by case. I'm not necessarily prescribing, recommending, or suggesting anything to anybody. This is my like free will channel, and if you come on this channel, then you have to be aware of the general disclaimers. And if you're not aware of the general disclaimers, then whatever you're doing when you come onto my channel, it's your own responsibility, and you have to, like, that's what life is. You have to kind of like own up to this shit, you know. So Yeah. And then like, when the moon hits like Aquarius, there's a like different type of nuance there, because the significant as above alignments and how like the constellations align for whatever reason in a different particular nuanced as above. The Aquarius theme for like a new life age is kind of like prominently significant. So since it's prominently significant, every aspect within Aquarius, it kind of has a more like significant effect within civilization at large, because we came out of the age of Pisces for the last 2,000 years in one kind of time span, and how it aligns in a certain way within just the human realm. Because obviously within the non-human realm, it could have a bigger time span within a bigger octave of it. So there's subtle like, when we hit the Aquarius aspects, it's kind of ultimately like, seeing how there's like subtle energies being cultivated for like the next 2,000 years for civilization at large, because on a different octave, bracket layer, that energy, like we're going into like, that region of energy for civilization. So if we're going that for civilization, we all have to see like the Aquarius within ourselves. We all have to see the water bearer within ourselves. We all have to see how like, we all have to see like the transitions in itself. Aquarius could be like something of like an alchemist, or something of an engineer, or something of a pilot, or something of a traveler, because it's a transition within, how a creature gets to become a human, makes arts and crafts a clay pot and puts water in the clay pot. That sounds like evolution to me in a different, theme. And the trines, one thing I forgot to mention about the trines, I think the trines are also like, it's a particular type of gift on how we transition and travel, because for different elements, or for the same element to be in a different mode, then that's some type of propulsion, that's some type of different point A to point B to point C per the elements. So the trines of water, the trines of fire, the trines of wind, the trines of earth, it's kind of like a fluid, rhythmical, graceful acceleration possibly, in how we could just like move forward with that element. So the trines are a particular type of gift, so it's like, but all the aspects could be some type of gift. All the aspects could be some type of talent. But what is it doing within its own particular alchemicalization of like how the elements are kind of like coming together, and the modes of the elements are coming together, So within the trines, it's as if like, so you got to like, so it's like you got something of a fixed, element, And within that fixed element coming together to like possibly be in harmonic conjoining with a mutable or cardinal element, that's some type of propulsion factor. So the trines are kind of like the gift on how to go forward within the element in whatever you're doing in your life, So water trine, maybe like, maybe you feel like emotionally like settled. The fire trines, maybe be like purify or be reborn, creativity. The wind trines, maybe take flight within, a practical way, applying imagination to reality. And then the earth trines, just the earth trine just being like really getting to the bottom of, what's the clear path for your career and your purpose and beyond like life and death, right? So thank you guys. You have an awesome life.